Good morning, friends. Today is Saturday, April the 25th. Work responsibilities prevented me from posting yesterday, but this is the sixth edition of Book Fun Friday. And the young adult book that I'm going to talk about today is a memoir that's titled Bad Boy. And it's about the young adult writer Walter Dean Meyers. Now, you guys know that I'm a high school librarian, but this book is certainly something that would be accessible for middle schoolers. So if you have a sixth, seventh, or eighth grader in your home who likes to read true stories, this would certainly be something that would be appropriate for him or her to read. Just to give you a little bit of backstory about Walter Dean Meyers, he was a prolific writer throughout his career, wrote well over 100 books, multi-award winning author. He sadly passed away 6 years ago. I think it was in July of 2014. But over the course of his career, he produced many stories kind of along the same themes. I've always heard that writers write what they know. Good writers write what they know. But I think even more appropriate to say would be writers write themselves. And that certainly seems to be the case for Walter Dean Meyers. If you've ever read anything by him, you know that. One of my favorite books to book talk is by him. It's called Monster. It's about a teenage boy who gets in trouble with the law. And certainly that in some aspects reflects the life of Walter Dean Meyers. Let me talk about why he titled this book Bad Boy. When Walter was 2, his biological mother died, and his father decided that he couldn't handle the number of children that he had in his home by himself. And so he sent Walter to live with his ex-wife and her new husband in Harlem. And Walter had a terrible speech impediment when he was a child. So those two things combined made him a really miserable child when he started school. He actually really hated school. He was bullied incessantly for his speech impediment, and rather than taking the bullying or making light of it or trying to joke around about it, his response to being bullied was to hit. So if anybody ever made fun of him, he would punch that person, he would slap that person, he would throw things at that person. So he was constantly getting in trouble at school and being called a bad boy. Well, that translated over to home then, and he would have to go home and he'd have to tell his mom and dad that he'd gotten in trouble at school, and then he would get in trouble at home again. And so he felt like everywhere he went, people looked at him as this bad kid. Well, the thing that he was able to take solace in was books. And so he was a reader. His mother actually taught him to read before he went to school. From a very early age, he was a reader. And then not too long after becoming a reader, he became a writer. And he would fill notebooks up with stories and articles and poems. And those are the things that he really took comfort in the midst of all of the other things that were so difficult for him in his life. Now, that wasn't necessarily supported by his father. His father was what Walter described a manly man who worked manly men jobs. And when this divide opened up between him and his father, it was one that was never really bridged throughout the course of his life. Walter learned later that was probably due to the fact that his father couldn't read at all. And so he didn't understand his son's love of literature and his son's love of writing. Now, his mom, on the other hand, even though she was not a professional person, she was a day laborer, she sensed that reading and writing would be the path for Walter. Given his academic difficulties, he never even finished high school, actually. He dropped out of high school and joined the military. The military didn't turn out to be the career for him, so after the military, he drifted from sort of a menial job to menial job. But circling back to his mom always sensed that reading and writing was the path for him. And when he finally realized as an adult that he could make a living writing books, writing novels, writing children's stories, writing articles, and fully embraced that, his mom was pretty happy about that as well. I'm going to share a passage then from the memoir Bad Boy. Again, this is about Walter Dean Meyers. In putting together the memories for this book, lining them up, and trying to make sense of them, I've come to the conclusion that I had a marvelous start in life. The love and attention I received as a toddler allowed me to acquire skills beyond those that my parents enjoyed, and in some ways to grow beyond the point at which my relationship with them was easily managed. I was fortunate to be raised in a church and a community that gave me an appreciation of values that I have, from time to time, bent somewhat, but that have always brought me back to a core in which I am satisfied. It was in my childhood community that I was first exposed to the cultural substance that is so much a part of my writing today. Through those early years, the years of halted speech, in which fists flew faster than words, I was able, with the love of my family, to claim ownership of the language I would spend my life enjoying. One weekend, I was visiting my parents in Morristown, New Jersey, and I had taken one of my new books to show them. I stayed overnight, and when I came down in the morning, I found my parents at the kitchen table. They had obviously been talking about me. "What is it that you do again?" Mama asked. She had my book on the table in front of her. "I write stories for children," I said. "You wrote stories when you were a boy," my father said, emphasizing boy. "You're a man now." "How do you go about doing that?" Mama asked, interposing herself between me and Dad. I explained how I would think of an idea, would make an outline of the story, and then type it up and do whatever revisions were necessary. I tried to make the process sound as impressive as I could. I could see in their body language that my father wasn't convinced and that Mama was as pleased as could be. Later in the day, I heard her proudly explaining to a friend on the phone that her son types stories for a living. I was very pleased. But my dad, in a way, was right. I had returned to that period of innocence in my life, that period of exploration of the human condition, and I was loving it. Writing has let me into a world in which I am respected, where the skills I have are respected for themselves. I am in a world of book lovers and people eager to rise to the music of language and ideas. All in all, it has been a great journey and not at all shabby for a bad boy. And again, this is a memoir. It's titled Bad Boy, and it's about the young adult writer Walter Dean Meyers. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you all continue to be well. Your families are healthy. I will see you next Friday, the first Friday of May. Take care of yourselves until then. Bye.